Hey everyone, it's A Dog's Life with Angela Ardolino, and I'm so excited to have the guest I have today because literally it's been, I don't even know how long I've been doing this podcast, but literally I started a list. Brasco probably has it of everyone that I wanted on the podcast. And I think we're finally getting through that list. And my guest today is Dr. Marlene Siegel, and she's an integrative vet that operates and practices in my neighborhood, which is awesome because we basically have our own little movie star vet here, holistic vet, integrative vet here in our town. So we're very excited about that. And what's awesome is that I love, when I'm in the holistic or integrative world and I learn about something else, and it was O3 vets, ozone. And then there you are, there she is talking about O3. And I'm like, of course you are, because I feel like you hear something, you look into it, you research, and then decide whether you think it's something that's wonderful to add to your practice. Oh, look, someone's making an appearance. I love it. Please welcome my guest.
He's my co-host.
Yeah. Yes, Dr. Marlene Siegel. Thank you so much for joining us today. And how I know you have such an amazing, rich, background on everything that you've done and how you ended up where you are now. How did you end up where you are at now? Because you worked with kids, you worked in the human medical space at some point, if I remember reading. You're training other vets. I don't know how you do everything that you do, but you're such an inspiration. So thank you. Tell us how you became an integrative vet.
So I'd already been practicing for about 20 years. And like all of us, there's an incident that happens in our lives that calls us to our higher power. And for mine, it was a horseback riding accident with my youngest child and one of my show horses. And the horse literally saved her life. And when it came time for me to figure out what was wrong with her so I could get her healed, oh gosh, it's still an emotional story, but I was literally told that the veterinarians did not know what was wrong with her, but she wasn't safe to ride and she would never be shown again. So this is a 7-year-old, incredibly talented US and Canadian national champion. And that meant nothing to me. What meant something to me was that horse saved my daughter's life, and I wasn't willing to stop until I had an answer and a cure for her. And when I was told I could either put her out to a pasture or put her down, that just wasn't acceptable. And in that moment, I realized that we say that to our clients too many times just because we don't know. And so I didn't blame the other doctors for not knowing. I just knew I had to look elsewhere because that's all they knew. And that's all we're trained. So if that's your toolkit is only so big, then that's all you have to choose from. And at that point, you're going to say, I have nothing else to give you. Not because they're bad people, but because they truly don't have anything else to give you. And in my quest to heal Lily, I looked outside of my traditional toolbox and I was seeking. And as you seek, your teachers will come in and so will cattails. And so everything that I learned, I embraced. So if I used it on Lily, then I brought it into my practice and I used it on my patients and I used it on my family, and it just kept growing. And from there, I've developed truly the largest integrative practice when it comes to tools of anywhere in the entire United States, and cost irrelevant. I would walk into a trade show and it didn't matter what it cost. If it could do what I needed it to do and it solved the problem that I had, then I bought it.
Awesome. I mean, that is the coolest. And what was your first thing that you used that you integrated that you were like, yes, awesome?
The first thing was chiropractic work. And it was my own personal chiropractor who had gotten certified to do animal chiropractics. And about a year earlier, he came to me and he goes, oh my gosh, Dr. Siegel, you have to learn how to do this. It's the coolest thing since sliced bread. And I honestly, this is exactly what I said to him. I said, Dan, talk to the hand because I was raising and homeschooling 2 children, running a busy practice, married at the time, was like having a 3rd child. And I just couldn't take on anything else. I was really at my wit's end. And then when Lily had her accident in the show arena with my daughter, and I realized I didn't have a choice. This was my time to come forward and find solutions. And I fully embraced it. I didn't hesitate. I called my Dr. Dan and he came out and he worked on her. And I will tell you, to this day, I have not seen a horse more painful than my horse was. And it was heartbreaking to see how painful she was. And she's still out there trying to do her job. 5 to 6 months, she and my youngest daughter went on to win the United States Reserve Youth National Championship, which is the most prestigious horse show in the United States for youth riders. So I tell people all the time, never let somebody else tell you what you can and can't do. Never let somebody define your capacity, your capabilities, because there is always that ability to heal. And it really depends on our mindset and our toolkit and our dedication and what the whole experience is supposed to be. Sometimes it's not the experience we think it's going to be or that we want it to be, but it's always the experience we should have.
Right. And you are speaking like a true pet parent where, you know, they know in their gut there's something that needs to be done. There's something that doesn't make sense in what's happening. And that's how I started on my journey is, you know, $15,000 to $20,000, I stopped counting. And for my first dog, and never got a diagnosis, just one test after another, constant steroids, antibiotics. And I never got an answer. She passed away, got an autopsy, and they said IBD. I now know what happened. I now know that I fed her the bad diet. I now know I over-vaccinated her. I now know I used toxic flea and tick medications on her every single month, whether she needed it or not. I know everything. And that's what my conventional vet did. It was convenient. It was across the street. I didn't know better. Now I know better. And I'm very loud about it. And I think that one of the biggest problems in what I see is that, you know, the people find me because they have been told that there's nothing else their vet can do. Or their vet goes, hey, there's this crazy lady over in Lutz doing another crazy lady over in Lutz doing stuff with CBD. And literally the biggest secret is that all I do is support their immune system. There's a list of medications that they're on that, you know, don't make any sense and put them down a spiral. They don't have a chance in hell. And supporting their immune system and their gut is, you know, you're halfway there. What I love about what I just saw you speak at is hilarious. Those of you who can't see us, her cat is literally swiping its tail across her face as she's on camera, and she is staying in character. I love it, like a professional. What is this kitty's name?
This is Echo.
Echo, you're so funny. I love it. I recently saw you speak at the O3 event, and you said something that just really stuck with me. And it was the first time I ever heard a vet say it out loud. And I was like, yes, thank you. And you were talking about the benefits of ozone, and you were showing us a pet who had a horrific allergic reaction to antibiotics. And it's funny because my history is a little crazy like yours. I published a magazine before I got into the cannabis and pet industry. And I used to report about this all the time because literally parents were running to the minute clinics and all of these little clinics without having any idea what was wrong and passing out antibiotics like nobody's business. And the same thing's happening in the pet industry, and we're destroying these dogs' guts. I know I have to take a break. See, this is what's going to happen is that I'm going to just sit here and chat with you like it's our private little conversation, and I'm going to forget. So we're going to take a break, but when we come back, I want you to talk about this problem of the overprescribing of antibiotics for pets. And then how I just saw you do a wonderful presentation for O3 vets, for other vets, which was wonderful, hearing the positive message that you give other vets, because you know, it is. I can't imagine being in your position. I can't imagine. Of course, we have Dr. Zach Pilasoff that is our chief vet for CBD Dog Health. And just listening to him and his story of coming out of Tufts, being $300,000 in debt and going, how come they didn't mention anything about cannabis, or how come they didn't mention anything about chiropractic or diet and nutrition? And he questioned that. But what do? You got to pay off your student loans. You got to go get a job. You got to go work. And I can't imagine, we know that you get into this to help animals. And when you were given a toolbox where it doesn't help everything or doesn't help a lot of the time, you want to go out and find those tools. So amen. Thank you so much for being one of those integrative vets who does that. So we've got this issue of antibiotics. I feel like what drives me crazy is anytime there's diarrhea. Like, I'm constantly feeling like I'm going, everybody gets diarrhea. Don't run and give them antibiotics. And I know that they're standing there in front of the vet going, give me something, do something. And they get something that actually may stop or help, or who knows, it just may cause damage because they don't even know what it is. So you brought up diagnosis. So talk to us pet parents about what you mean and what should we do?
Wow, you packed a lot in that question. So let's back up a little bit and realize that the world that we're living in today is very different than the world that we had 20 years ago. So when we say, that our toolkit was the way we graduated with, it worked back then. I saw when I've been out almost 40 years, 40. And when I first started practicing, we saw 1 or 2 cancer cases a year.
Wow.
And in the past 20 years, we've been seeing a rise to the point now where most of what I see is cancer. That is a majority of my practice right now. So we'll be treating anywhere from 4 to 10 cancer cases a week.
Wow.
So understand that, first of all, we have been sold the bill of goods of fast, cheap, and convenient, and we've lost our ability to have critical thinking. And we put all of our trust and faith and our ownership for our health into the hands of a white coat. So now, and that's on the human side and the veterinary side. So step number 1 is our world has changed a lot with the addition of the level of toxicity that we're experiencing. There's over 85,000 synthetic toxins that have been introduced into our environment just since World War II. Now, we've never seen that level of toxicity before. And then when you add things like glyphosate on top of that, and we now know that glyphosate destroys the tight junction in the gut. So now all those toxins are coming through a leaky gut and coming right into the body and just creating havoc. Then our lifestyles have changed. We don't go outside in the sun very much anymore. We don't exercise. For a lot of people, they don't do intermittent fasting. They're just eating all the hours of the days from the time that they get up to the time they go to bed, and they feed their pets the same way. The food bowl is just filled and it's there for them to graze. These are all non-sustainable lifestyles. So understand, and I know you do, but for the listeners, it's our lifestyle. We can't just take a pill for the ill and a diet for the disease like we have 20 years ago. And it seemed to work okay because there wasn't anything all that big that we were dealing with. But it's a whole new world now, and we have to have a different approach, a different attitude. And that starts with understanding what is our lifestyle. And I really don't think it's harder. I think it's just different. So instead of taking a pill for the ill, we need to take ownership of, how do I stay healthy? That's a novel concept, right? We don't ask that question. I do and you do, but the average person and the average pet owner is just going through life like they're going down the luge, and they're hitting the sides of the luge and they're bouncing back and forth. And then they get down to an outcome that they don't like, but they never took control of where they were going and how they were going to get there, because no one ever taught them. No one ever explained it. These conversations aren't commonplace in the veterinary world, so our owners aren't hearing it, but it's only because our veterinarians are coming out taught by a model that was instituted back when the Flexner report happened, and they changed the whole human model for the way medical systems worked. And it really is designed to keep people just unhealthy enough to keep being a part of the system. He's 20 years old, by the way. I know. Can you see this
good
guy?
Kitty.
He's 20 years old. 20 years young, I should say.
Awesome.
And has no muscle wasting. He's just vibrant. So our animals should live into their 30s and 40s. We should be
Wow,
living
that is
into our
awesome. I'm always like,
120
yeah,
plus. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think we'll get there. Those of you who can't see her,
Well, I
you
think
should
there's a
see
lot.
how fantastic she looks.
This, yeah, he's cool. So, as we start to understand the paradigm shift that we need to make, then it becomes a little easier to understand where do we go. And for the average person, it's overwhelming to look at all this information and go, oh my gosh, I don't know where to start. And so they don't do anything. And the two biggest reasons people fail at anything in life is, one, they don't have knowledge. Here you are providing phenomenal knowledge in your genre, thank goodness. And number two is a plan to implement it. Because if you learn all this great information and it's overwhelming, so you go, oh, I'll just go back and do what I already know because it's easier. Well, you're going to get the same results, right? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So it's super important that we get the knowledge and we have somebody to help us create that plan, whether it's you or it's me. But you have to have an accountability partner, somebody who can take you through. And one of the tips I do for all of my clients is I have them take a piece of paper, fold it in half, and then they put column A at the top of one piece and column B at the top of the other side. And then on column A, they just start writing down all the things that they're hearing that they should be doing, but they're not doing it yet. No judgment, no pressure, just write it down. And then on column B, write down all the things that you should not be doing because you just learned about it and you're still doing it. And then you just pick one thing from column A and one thing from column B and you institute it. And then it's not so hard. And every week you pick 1, 2, or 3 things. And sometimes they go together. So it may be drinking structured, good quality filtered water that isn't out of plastic, right? So you stop buying plastic bottled water and you find a source of structured, filtered, preferably hydrogen water. If you don't know what that is, you can message me and we'll talk about that. But my point is, start with something simple like water, but water is as simple as it is to pick. It is also one of the biggest things that you can do. And then you can pick food, and then you pick the next low hanging fruit, and whatever that looks like for you. So that's what I would recommend as far as how a pet owner would start.
And I love that because I remember, when I made the shift, gosh, almost 20 years ago, and I remember feeling extremely overwhelmed, and crying. And I visited, that's when I discovered my favorite website, which I'm sure you know, which is ewg.org, which has the cosmetic database. Now it has the cleaning and everything database where you can literally look up any product that you're using to see what terrible toxic chemicals are in it that could be causing harm. And literally, I spent one night throwing away everything in my house, and I already thought I knew what I was doing. So I think people do think it's overwhelming, but there's nothing worse than someone in your home, whether it's your pet, and your pets are your canaries in your home. So when I'm always telling someone how to detox their home, I'm going, by the way, I used to do this for families. Now I'm doing it for your dog, which is going to pay off. Your whole family's going to pay off. I mean, I remember when I wrote the magazine, and I'm sure you hear stories like this all the time. I know family after family who literally, they would go off the spectrum when all chemicals were removed from, they were autistic, and all chemicals were removed from their house, no, bad food, nothing with preservatives, and literally would be showing no signs of autism, and could literally go over to a friend's house and be exposed to something and start reverting again. So knowing that chemicals have that impact on us, I can't even imagine on our pets, which are right down there on the ground, inhaling the pesticides, the carpet cleaners, the everything. So they're battling, and it's so true. And people, the fasting, the immune system, I feel like the immune system has gone out of style. Like people don't even remember that it exists anymore, and that you have to feed it and take care of it, that it's not just going to be there forever. What are some top things that a pet parent could do? That this is what I find is that most pet parents, their dog hits their senior age, and that's when the problems start really showing up, and that's when they really have to change diet or do something. What are some baby steps that they could take? immediately to help their diet. I mean, help their pet.
Diets in there. So I have a 6-step ebook that covers really all your basics. If I may plug it, it's a free ebook. You guys are welcome to
Yes,
download it. I encourage you. It's holistichealingvet.com. So holistichealingvet.com, and you can download the ebook. It's for free. But step number 1 is we have to stop polluting the body. We have to literally stop doing the lifestyle things that are causing the inflammation, and quit naming everything. When you come down to it, there's only one real disease. It's chaos at the atomic level, and it's inflammation. So if you can quit naming everything and you can quit blaming it, then we can get down to—
I love that. I swear to God, I'm going to make you a line of t-shirts.
Don't name it, don't blame it. It's all inflammation. And when we understand that, and we understand inflammation just hits in the weakest link of the body, now we can quit worrying about the name and its outcomes, and we can just focus on the inflammation. So step number 1 is stop polluting the body. Feed a species appropriate diet. And again, I'm sure you have information. We actually created our own line of dog food and supplements because we couldn't find products that were to our quality. So number 1, stop polluting the body through making sure you are feeding a species appropriate diet. Number 2 is water. We encourage structured, highly filtered water that hopefully has hydrogen in it. Number 3, we look at the environment, everything from air quality to the cleaning products that you use, anything that touches your skin. And of course, checking for mold. In Florida, we have a lot of mold here. So really being a good, like you said, you threw away everything that you had in cleaning products. People don't realize that there's stuff under your cabinet that you haven't looked at for a long time. It's off-gassing. It's still there. It's still creating a problem. And then we also look at the outside environment. You know, don't be spraying chemicals outside, and making sure that you're in as clean and green environment as possible. Electromagnetic frequencies, another huge area. I know you and I are hardwired. I'm not using Wi-Fi, and I try to keep my Wi-Fi off as much as possible. And if I have to make a call, I turn it back on. I am on emergency call at night, so I have a section of the house where I can keep my phone and it stays on. But in my bedroom, I now go to bed at 11 o'clock at night. I turn my stuff off. I'm not on call anymore. First time in 40 years, I didn't do emergency work after 11 o'clock. So, but sleep is very important. Our pets don't seem to have a problem sleeping, but they don't get good quality sleep when there's a lot of Wi-Fi going on. So make sure that you test. You can't look and see. You have to test with a meter to see what your Wi-Fi problems are. And then the last one that I usually address are the ants that live in our human brains. And ants are the automatic negative thoughts that we keep creating. And the reason that's so important is because when we are creating negative thoughts, we are creating these neurochemicals that are flowing through our bodies, and our pets entrain to those chemicals. So this principle of entrainment is not even woo-woo. It's a physics principle. So when you're around somebody who is really high powered and has great energy, you are lifted up. And when you're around an energy vampire and they are sucking the life out of you, you are needing to go home and take a nap. Well, the same thing happens with our pets. When you are very, very negative, they entrained that energy. I think one of the things that they offer us is the ability to help reduce some of that negative and that hurtful and that really heavy negative energy. They take that from us. So when they come over, you notice he keeps rubbing back and forth in my face. Well, it's dinner time too, but you know, if you're sad, who's the first one that comes over and wants to be petted? And it's your pets. And then you put your hand out and you instinctually feel better. It's because they're helping to carry some of that very heavy load. So watching the ants in our brain, and I don't mean to ignore them. I don't mean to pretend that they're not there. They are there to give us a clue as to what it is that we need to heal from or forgive or whatever it is. So I tell people, write it down. Write down what your feelings are, really identify it. And it's like working on a computer. If you want to delete a file, you can't just stare at the computer from across the room and go delete, delete, delete. It's not going to work, right? You have to open the computer, you have to pull up the file. And then when you do decide, oh, I don't need that file anymore, I need to make some room on my hard drive. And what do? You hit the delete button. And what does it tell you? Are you sure? right? Because it wants to make sure you really want to delete that. And the same thing happens when we're programming our negative beliefs. Is your subconscious mind is saying, I don't know. I know that belief doesn't mean it's good, bad, or indifferent. I just know it. It's a habit. And so I'm not sure I want to let that go. So we have to use tools, and there's tons and tons of things that we do to help the owners release those negative emotions, but they're very, very important. And every dis-ease has trapped emotions associated with it. I'm going to say it again. Every dis-ease has trapped emotions associated with it. I don't care what it is. So when we can not only help to relieve the dis-ease, but we also can release the trapped emotions, which for me, it's sort of like the calling card, you know, it's the clue that you are given to help in Earth School so that you can get to the next level.
Cool.
Very helpful. So that's just number one.
Yeah. And I always tell pet parents, I'm like, remember, your dog doesn't know it has cancer. So you being upset about it and worried about it, they're picking up on that, and they don't know what they're picking up on, but it's not a happy, good feeling. So don't have it. Stop. You got to go mourn somewhere else. Why mourn? Why not celebrate this? You don't know how long you have. So celebrate it and enjoy it for as long as you have, because at the end of the day, we don't want them to suffer. And we have things that make them not suffer. So we don't have to worry about that part. And I feel like that really makes a difference. Having that ability to immediately get rid of anxiety and pain, is good. So you can decide what the hell you're going to do next.
Well, a lot of people spend their entire life living in the past or living in the future, and they're not present.
Right.
And the present is that gift. And when we start to realize that maybe the experience that you're having is to help you see that you're living in the past, or you're living in fear. What is fear? Future events that appear real. Where love, I have an acronym for love, and it's let out voluminous energy, because we are energy beings. Our pets are energy beings. We're also light beings. And when we can embrace the energy and the light, and we can raise our vibrational frequency to our pets, when we can match that unconditional love, then we start having the life that we really came here for. And they're just helping us to see it.
Right. I love it. And now that is probably, I'm sure, every time you meet any animal, why they come up and are attracted to you, because that's exactly what you exude. And it's awesome. I know we're out of time. I already skipped a commercial break, which is what happens when I'm having so much fun. And what happens when, we take our evening to get together. And thank you for taking time out of your busy day for coming on here. Please tell everybody, again, we've got where you can download the book, your ebook on holistichealingvet.com. And where can they find more information on you? Because you give your e-newsletters are both human and animal. And to me, I always say everything that we suffer from or go through, our animals go through at a certain level also. So everything we can do, all the things that I've done for my health, I realized I could do for my pet's health too. So we should have done it at the same time.
Absolutely.
How do they get in touch with you and follow you and get all of your wonderful, I know you've got so many resources for them. She's also on The Truth About Cancer, which there's a truth about pet cancer. Are you on both of them or one? Or I can't even remember. I've watched them all.
Yeah.
I was like, I think you're on both of them.
Yeah.
So, when she sees this many cases of cancer, there's nobody more than you that can go, yeah, it's the diet. Yeah, it's the toxic environment. So tell our listeners where they can find you.
The umbrella website that I have is drmarlenesiegel.com. It's drmarlenesiegel.com. And from there, you can go into the hospital website. You can go to the food website. We're getting ready to launch Spas Family Wellness at the end of 2021, which is our detox centers where pet parents can go with their pets and be able to undergo all their detoxification services for all 6 organs of elimination. And there's more. The parenting classes, I have a 3-hour webinar course for pet parents to truly learn not only how to identify the problems, what test you should be asking your veterinarian to run, what therapies are available, and
Awesome.
every single therapy we offer can be purchased for use at home. But
Awesome.
please do it under the guidance of a qualified professional who can help you to use it correctly.
Right, because there's, some of us don't have access to someone like you. And that was one of the hardest things was, and thanks to the pandemic, we can go, here's a list of vets you can now call up and do a Zoom call and meet with. They can do that with you also, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And they can do that from your website?
From our office, which when they go to the website, they'll call the office and the office will set it up, but they get not only a consultation with me, they also get the pet parent program so that when we get on the phone, they understand what it is that we're talking about and they're empowered with knowledge. Go figure, right?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for coming in. I know we're going to do some Facebook Lives together, hopefully at your office, which I can't wait. So I know we'll be doing more with you because I know we could talk for another, couple days on different things. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.